Hello, everybody, to today's webinar regarding parametric versus direct modeling. To give you a brief understanding about how I will structure this today, I have two designs. I would like to illustrate direct modeling and parametric modeling, a simpler object, which is a chair, and a more complex design, which is a smartphone case, which is an actual client project. And to illustrate to you the differences between parametric and the advantage of direct modeling, which we have in Shaper 3D, I will show you how those designs, for example, would have to be made inside Fusion 360, which is similar to Inventor or SolidWorks, a feature-based parametric modeler. Okay, so what does actually parametric and direct modeling essentially mean? If you want to break it down, for those who are not 100% familiar with it, parametric modeling means I can capture every design step that I do. And it's kind of like if you want to say your step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you can always go back in the time and then manipulate each command. So in Fusion 360, for example, it is a horizontal arrangement. In SolidWorks or Inventor, it's a vertical arrangement. For example, down here, this is what's called the feature tree. And when I go here backwards, step by step, I'm actually rolling back my designs. There you can see a little bit stuff is changing. No, things is changing even more. So it's kind of like, as it says, history. And then I can also go back to the end, and the software redesigns or recreates everything for me. If I go quickly to Shaper 3D, which is giving us the ability of direct modeling, we don't have that type of a feature-based approach to go backwards or forward. But what we have in Shaper 3D via the direct modeling, we can actually manipulate the whole design whenever, wherever we want, without having to be very careful about how we actually constructed this design. So to explain this again, let me go back to the Fusion file. So while, as you can see, you can go forward and backwards in time, which looks like a very attractive ability, there are two very big downsides to parametric modeling. If you have a very simple object, for example, let's say a chair, you see the timeline is not very complex. But once I have a more complicated design, here I have the shell, I have the iPhone. I will actually include the timeline of the iPhone in this design too. You see now here, the software now has to compute actually all the design steps. Let me expand this timeline. Now you see we have all the history features for the iPhone, and now we're starting seeing all the features for the actual shell. And you can see the problem. The more you do, the longer this timeline or the design history will get, which is a problem in all parametric modelers, the more confusing actually it can be at one point now to figure out which of these features do I have to add it to do a change. And if I click, for example, here on this sketch, you can see this is part of a cross section. This sketch here is defining an opening for the case. So if I want, let's say, design the shape of this button, in parametric modeling, I would have to go back to where the sketch was created. That defines actually the outline of this shape. So for example, I go back to here. And then I can, for example, edit it. Oh, actually, sorry, I selected the wrong sketch. Well, this is fine. There you see all the sketches for the back end. I can do adjustments to it. And then here you see after the sketch was created, then I can do all the manipulation for it. One secondary problem is all these features are totally linked to, for example, the references. That means if I go ahead and select the sketch and by accident delete it, the whole design actually will break apart, because from the beginning till here, the software understands how to rebuild all these features, but now the sketch that is needed to create the following geometry is missing. And then basically, sorry, the design is broken, which makes it very cumbersome and labor intensive when you want to create a design that is rather complex. And for example, also has multiple objects inside the design. When I go back to Shaper again, there you see I literally do not have a timeline. So wherever I would like to do something to adjust, let's say I zoom into here, and maybe the height of this whole opening height-wise is incorrect. I would like to adjust this. I could, for example, then that is now called direct modeling. Select these 2 or 3 faces, go to the move command, and for example, move them up or move them down. And based on the value I entered, I can adjust the geometry. Now, some people might think that direct modeling only allows you to just manipulate some of the geometry or the faces. I would actually rather maybe sometimes call direct modeling more interactive. Because while I have transform tools to move actually faces around in Shaper, I can select, for example, the surface that is part of an arc, as you can see there, and it reads out the value of the fillet. So I could adjust actually the radius for that fillet. Again, in Fusion, I would have to go back to find the correct sketch in my timeline, go into Edit Sketch, adjust it, then stop sketch, and then the software has to update everything. No, I did not change anything in the sketch, but another, it's kind of like a third problem with parametric modeling. When you adjust something at the end, the adjustment is pretty fast. If I adjust something rather at the beginning, the software, and again, this is a problem with all parametric modelers, has from the beginning where I adjusted something till the end, recalculate all these commands. And you can see with a more complex design, this will take each time computational time. So tiny adjustments will eat work time. With direct modeling, we don't have that restriction, and we don't have the loss of time too, which is another very important part actually of the advantage of direct modeling. So to showcase the direct modeling a little bit more, I have, for example, here a very basic share, and now I would like to do quickly variations to it. So I would like to explore the designs. That is an area where direct modeling very much defeats parametric modeling, because I do not have to be locked to sketches. I can copy and paste and move objects around, which in a direct modeling application, since we work on the feature tree of one object, we can't really do that. To show you a little bit what I mean with this, let's go to this file. This is kind of like something I prepared. That's a raw shell. I have some legs. And let's say I would like to do some very basic cuts to it. And this is really nice because I can adjust now the way how I would like to explore my design based on how I think. I can kind of like spread myself nicely out. So the workspace in Shape here is like a huge canvas over which I can stretch out all my different iterations or ideas. So let's say I go to a front view, then I will go to the move command, and I will select everything because it's just my basic raw model. I turn on copy, and then I move this design, let's say 30 inches to the side. Perfect. So now I made a copy. At this point now, I could also make myself a new group. So I can put these elements into that group. And I turn my original raw piece off. This is a very common process also in direct modeling, that you work in steps. So in case something didn't work out, you can delete your previous step and you or the step you worked on, and you still have your previous step. So I would like to do some interesting cuts in the backrest. Go to a site. I have a lot of construction guides here. I will create myself a nice construction guide that lines up as closely as possible with the backrest, let's say like this. And then on that, I will create myself a construction plane. And this one should not be rotated. Okay, very good. So you see that right now this plane does not 100% line up actually with the backrest, so they're not centered. That's not really a problem. I double tap or select and then double tap that construction plane. This will actually adjust the grid to the way how I would like to draw. And now I can go ahead and, for example, create myself a sketch. Let's say I will create first a very basic opening, like a box. I do this on purpose, very simple, so you can step by step see how I can then adjust these parts. And I can move this one down to there. And on purpose, I put it a little bit higher. So, and I made this box pretty big on purpose. Very good. Okay, so let's go to tools, and then actually, sorry, not tools. I can just select this face and then with the pencil extrude up, and it creates a cut automatically. See, it's a very smart tool. I can make a new body, I can join it, I can intersect or subtract it. Okay, good, very nice. So let's go back to maybe my top view. At this point, the construction plane and the axis I don't need to see anymore. The sketch I will hide too. So you just see the pure geometry. Now I can play around with this a little bit. Maybe these edges I would like to round. There, and there, and there. And let's give this a nice fillet. Currently, I don't know which value I want, so I'm actually more dragging the fillets to a degree that visually it looks interesting. I don't really like how big this opening is. So let's move this. I will go to the move command, go to move, select this face, and just drag it down. You see, by dragging that face down, also the left and right fillets are being moved with it. So it's smart, actually. Really nice. The fillets are maybe a little bit too big. If I want to make this element even smaller, you see I can select all these fillets and adjust the value of all 3 fillets at the same time. Maybe I want this to go even further down. It's there. Oh, actually, I moved it straight down. I should have done actually a different orientation. That was my fault. So 1 second. So you can see the arrow goes straight up and down. It actually should have been aligned with the surface. So I will do this one more time. Move on that surface there. And you see there's an auto orientation, and that arrow actually is more lined up. Very nice. So you see, it is actually more a process of manipulating directly geometry, but you don't have to necessarily rebuild parts. In terms of, for example, if I now want to remove the fillet, this one, I select it, click delete, it's gone. Maybe as a design feature, detail, I just want to have just this one corner. And now when I play with a variation, well, how does this whole thing look like if maybe I have the position and the size somewhere else? So I could go to the front view, go to transform, go to move and groups, and select this group, make myself a copy. Then I move it over another 30 inches. Very good. So maybe in this case now, I would like to explore the idea of having all these fillets removed. And as a variation, only have one corner filleted, like this. Say like there. And maybe this edge on the left, I would like to bring over, make this a little bit asymmetrical. Very good. So you can see one of the advantages here is because I'm not linked to the sketches and the timeline and the association between sketch and then the features, that I can make copies. And because I can make copies, I can also compare different design ideas very comfortably. Another nice feature of direct modeling is also the self-healing or self-repairing. Essentially, when I move these faces or I adjust a fillet or remove the fillet, the software behind the interface that deals with the geometry, for example, retrims and repositions everything. Or in case I select now all those faces, let's say in this version I really don't like actually this approach and I would like to get rid of it, I can select these faces there and delete it, and I have my part back. So that's a little bit important to know, that when we do these adjustments or move openings, obviously I can only move something that is on the surface. If actually it goes beyond it, then it's outside it. But besides adjusting, for example, a fillet for rounding, I can do the same also with the legs. So now I have 3 different versions. And maybe here I select this leg and say, maybe this should be a chair for children. So I make these pipes a little bit stronger, so they're thicker. You see I adjusted just one cylinder and the whole pipe got automatically updated. How much do we have here? 0.28, maybe make this 0.29. 3, 5. Very nice. And even here, the pipe is actually joined to this geometry. If I double click, you can see this is one object. Even the joint edge updates to it. So it's a really nice ability that I do not have to think when and where do I have to adjust something. I just simply select the part I would like to adjust. And we need to remove actually these legs from those posts. So I could go, sorry, not transform, tools, and then go subtract. And from those, we remove those. And you see then actually that they're gone. Just wanted to show you that even here with these cuts, even there that we can adjust to if, for example, we want to put then a new or different pipe into it. So I will undo these steps so I have my legs back. I could actually have made just simply a copy and then move them back. For this demo, I just wanted to show you that even surfaces like here with a pipe, when I cut this out of an area, I can later readjust this part. To maybe make everything a little bit sharper, softer, we can round these corners, which is a little bit to a certain degree the same element what you have, or what we did also in the cuts inside the arm part. Another really nice thing is with this whole design, if we go back to Fusion for a moment. If I go back to here, maybe this explains this again. What some people, for example, do, and this is actually the improper way how to do something. I could select, for example, a face and then go to the move and adjust this. And then the software will actually capture also this move command. That is a problem I see very often with people who work with parametric modeling and then later they want to do adjustments because they don't want to adjust everything inside the feature tree. And those manipulations, when done a lot, can actually make it very confusing to read the feature tree. So another thing that is bad about parametric is when you're inside a design process, adding kind of like dirty workflows. You can actually see my colleague actually always likes to move elements up and down, and everything is flipped. So there were other of those commands in here, and then I removed those because it made it confusing for me to understand where was everything at the beginning. And I had everything cleanly laid out so I can quickly work in it. But then if you talk with other people and share designs, the communication is difficult. While if we go back to here, I hope you see basically the point I tried to make is that it's just a model. If I would like to adjust an element again, I can select those and go to transform, move. Does not allow me to click on it. No. Oh, should actually have moved. This could maybe be that the mesh actually has a dirty element. Oh, there you see. I move actually that face. Or I can select these parts and just to show you when I delete those. Also here I have the original element back. I can continue rounding and filleting designs and adding additional features for it. And if I don't like this, I can always delete this and get back to the original part. And this, to a certain degree, kind of like sums up what is the big difference between parametric modeling and the direct modeling. So the way how I would simply try to see this is in parametric modeling is really great when you really know exactly what you want to do. That's kind of like an ideal case, how sometimes I try to tell somebody to do this. And then you just simply execute a blueprint. It's not necessarily very good if you want to work on a complex design and then do a lot of variations or exploration, which is why I very often actually just only work in direct modeling, even while the parametric modeling has certain features or advantages. I feel that in terms of my designability and workflow, I'm actually more creative and faster in something like Shaper with the direct modeling, because I can make variations, I can make copies, and then later what I don't need, I simply clean up, I remove, and then I have my parts created.